Perfect. Hello, everyone. This is Malini, HR partner, Amicus Legal. Hope everyone is safe at their home. So, today's topic, let's start from here. Woman. How do we define her? But why to define her? Just let her be. In this 21st century, women are free to work, to choose their lifestyle. But are they safe enough at the places they work? So today's topic that we're going to talk is, excuse me, no, it's not a topic, but a book review meeting by Mr. Baij Nath. He wrote a book recently, and the topic for the book is Commentary on Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace. So welcome, Mr. Baij Nath. How are you?
I'm good. Have you here?
Great. So before starting, viewers, I just want to give a gist that what and who Mr. Baij Nath is. So Mr. Baij Nath is holding the position of Associate Director Legal at University of Petroleum and Energy Studies in Dehradun. He holds the degree of B.Sc, LLB, LLM, PGDIRPM degrees. He has completed his advanced program for IMI Delhi, which with overseas component at France, Switzerland, Holland, and Belgium. He worked in the bank sectors and with the central government for a period of more than 18 years. Thereafter, he joined Oil and Natural Gas Corporation Limited, where he worked for more than 22 years. With ONGC, he held the position of Group General Manager, Head Employee Relations. He has authored another book titled Quantum of Punishment in Service Laws. Dr. Justice Arijit Pasayat, former Justice Supreme Court of India, former Chairman, Competition Appellate Tribunal, contributed a befitting and invaluable foreword to the book. So, sir, my first question to you is: what in your life took you to write this particular topic?
All right. Thank you once again having me here. In fact, you are aware that POSH Act, popularly this Sexual Harassment Act, we call it POSH Act. Earlier, Prevention it was named. So it has become a most eloquent subject these days. This act came into being on December 2013, precisely 9th December 2013. And with the awareness generating among the women employees, they are now taking the legal recourse available to them against perpetrators of sexual harassment. On the other hand, there are provisions of obligations and compliances against the employers under the Act, attracting action against them in the event of any failure on their part. The internal and local committees are also looking for proper guidance to deal with the burdensome task of handling complaints under this Act. Though the IC and LC they have been vested with civil court powers, yet most of them at most of the times are not aware of nitty-gritty of these powers. Therefore, they are also found in search of some material that can guide them properly. There is complete lack of understanding even about the definition of sexual harassment and its practical application. Further, it is also important to know that the inquiry proceedings under the Act are different from the departmental proceedings. They are endowed with unique powers where investigation and inquiry both are conducted by the same agency, that is IC or LC. It is a unique feature. Otherwise, if some agency is given a task of handling this investigation, so same agency will not inquire into the matter. But here it is an exception. You know that proof beyond doubt as required in criminal proceedings before the court is not required in IC proceedings. Rather, it is the principle of preponderance of probability that becomes relevant here. It is a fact that material was available in the market that deals with the specific law. This was the precise rationale behind writing this book. Therefore, I can say that the book will prove useful to the ICs, LCs members, employers, employees, students, lawyers, and those who wish to conduct awareness and training programs, etc., across the organization altogether. So this was the rationale behind writing this book. I think I have answered your question.
Perfect, sir. Yes, thank you so much. Now I request Amol and Trishla to please carry on this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Malini. Thank you so much, sir, for coming. We are much obliged. If we talk about legal practitioner or we as advocate, we see that in spite of timely constructions of posh trainings and awareness campaigns, they are still tribal day-to-day gestures of men, which often makes women uncomfortable. Um, is it because men do not understand the ambit of their acts, which are covered into the act or crime otherwise, and they overlook harassment and they assume it to be very friendly and modern and corporate affair or something that way? So should I mean, is this a okay gesture for women? How would you differentiate between the types of acts which are covered under the Harassment Act and which are probably not covered into the Harassment Act? We as legal practitioners want to know, and we as women of India wants to know, sir. Thank you.
Very pertinent question you have asked. In fact, this is the area where an apparent lack of awareness is explicitly visible. Now, your point concerning gesture of man, making the women uncomfortable. Yes, but I would like to seek support of an example here. You know, CCTV provides a sense of confidence and relief to some and threat to others. Similarly, a police picket provides a sense of confidence and relief to some and threat to others. However, if public becomes aware that the particular CCTV always remains out of order, or there is a history of lethargies at a particular police checkpost, the confidence of the public will be shaken up and the morale of the criminals will get unwarranted boost. Similar situation can be experienced in respect of sexual harassment cases. Now, if employer fails to constitute internal committee, if internal committee is devoid of clarity, they are not aware. If employer has not put in place any prevention of sexual harassment policy, it is required, it is must under the law. If appropriate gender sensitization and awareness programs are not undertaken frequently, regularly, if IC members are not fully and frequently trained, if the employer has not practiced a policy of zero tolerance against this sexual harassment, it is very important. The women will definitely feel uncomfortable. Therefore, in order to bring a sense of confidence among the women employees, all these steps need to be undertaken by the employers. Now, coming to the acts amounting to sexual harassment, you have asked. Now, sexual harassment includes any one or more of the unwelcome act and behavior. Why this definition right from the Visakha judgment, it is in practice. And the Act has also imported this definition or adopted this definition as it is. Now here the words are very important, that unwelcome act or behavior. So whether directly or indirectly, as indicated under the Act, and those are, we can name them, showing pornography, physical contact and advances, making sexually colored remarks, a demand or request for sexual favors, or any other unwelcome physical, verbal, non-verbal conduct of sexual nature. Now, under the Act, this definition, which I have just explained, it is given under Section 2(1). But to strengthen it further, the Act provides some more areas under its Section 3. Now, under Section 3, some circumstances have been brought out. So we can say that Section 3 has further widened the definition of sexual harassment by providing for certain circumstances related to sexual harassment, which may also amount to sexual harassment. And you will find that the dimension of quid pro quo and hostile environment is covered under this Section 3. And what are those circumstances? Implied or explicit promise of preferential treatment in the victim's employment conditions, implied or explicit threat. Earlier it was a promise, now it is threat of detrimental treatments in the victim's employment. Then implied or explicit threat about the victim's present or future employment, humiliating treatment, intimidating treatment, hostile treatment, or making environment hostile against him. All these are the circumstances. If anybody is found making or creating these circumstances directly or indirectly by implication or otherwise, it will amount to sexual harassment. The most important part here is, I would say, that the written word is unwelcome. Now, what is unwelcome? A simple definition. If somebody wants to enter my gate without my consent, he is unwelcome. So same analogy can be created here. Every woman, because we are specific to women here, though it equally applies to men also, but we are discussing the issues relating to women. So every woman constructs an imaginary or artificial boundary around her. And that boundary is created based on her educational, social, or family background. It may be a larger boundary, it may be a smaller boundary. In some cases, patting or hugging, you are not crossing the boundary. But in some cases, even if you touch or if you look at inappropriately, it may be considered. So it is up to the women who has to say that whether the man has crossed the boundary or not. So it is the perfect example, according to me. Now we can touch upon the element of intent and impact. It is also generally misunderstood. Post Visakha, the impact was important. Intent was not that important. But if I recall, sexually determined behavior was first time introduced there in the Visakha case, and that behavior, it was classified as it should contain a sexual overtone. That was the specifically written there, that if some behavior contains some sexual overtone or content, but also the behavior that is offensive or humiliating to a woman, that will be considered as sexual harassment. Here, impact was important, but not the intent. But in Shanta Kumar's case, where Shanta Kumar versus CSIR, Delhi High Court, it was a case, a physical contact which has no undertone of sexual nature and is not occasioned by the gender of the complainant may not necessarily amount to sexual harassment. So there is a now departure onto the definition of this impact and intent theory. So presently, as regards sexual harassment is concerned, it is up to the women if she says that you have crossed the boundaries, and she is able to discharge the initial burden of proof that yes, he was having some sexual undertone, then it will amount to sexual harassment. So precisely, this is the definition.
Yes. Hello. Hello, sir. You just said that about the Vishaka judgment of Supreme Court. As we know that after Vishaka organization won the long battle in the Supreme Court, our legislation took 5 years, 5 long years to pass the bill of Posh. So I would just ask that had this legislation left the job guarantee thing in the act? Because as we face today, we face that there are cases where the women goes to complain and to its senior bosses or anyone female, and what she faces is that she at the end she loses her job. So there is no job guarantee. If she complains, she may get fired or loses her jobs or get a remark that she is not a good for the company, anything like that. What would you like to say about it?
All right. You have highlighted an important concern that comes in implementation of that. The area of concern is in providing requisite relief to women and in providing the safe working environment. And in fact, this is the mandate of the Act. That employer is duty bound to provide all these safeguards. Now, in order to appreciate the important issue brought out by you, I would like to discuss about the duties of an employer provided under that. Now, under the Act, the employer is duty bound to provide a safe working environment, first of all, at the workplace. He needs to display consequences. This is important, highly important. Everything is important, but this is highly important just in order to bring a sort of deterrent in people, that he needs to display the penal consequences and the composition of internal committee. You have an internal committee, but it is not known to the public. It is of no use. You have to organize workshops. You have to create awareness programs at regular intervals, and it should not be the empty formality that once upon a time you have conducted some program and thereafter you have forgotten. So there have to be this reviews, etc. Orientation program very important for the IC members. If you have inducted somebody on IC and he is not aware or she is not aware of the roles and responsibility of the IC members, so how come? So assistance to the victim to file complaint. This is also one of the very important feature of this Act, that assistance needs to be provided to the complainant if she wishes that the complaint should be filed before the police. So then it is the responsibility and duty of the employer to provide that assistance to her. So thus this Act provides a sort of complete ecosystem of comfort to the women employees and for the redressal of grievances. Now coming to the issue that perpetrator, sometimes he can occupy higher position in the organization. So I think that is also not so very important, though we have got some instances where the perpetrator, being in higher positions, they were allowed to go scot-free. So, but ultimately the matter, even one case I recall, the matter went up to the level of Supreme Court and the justice was granted to the women. And so as regard this, that persons occupy higher position, I think that is also not that very important here. But lack of awareness about Section 6 of the Act, there is a mandate that complaint given against the employer himself shall go to IC. That is important, that these district level committees, which we call local committees, they are constituted in order to entertain complaints of unorganized sector And unorganized sector has been defined under the Act as having employee strength less than 10. So any complaint from unorganized sector shall go to the LC. And secondly, any complaint about against the head of the department of even organized sector, that will also go to LC. So these are some salient features under the Act. And you are aware that member of NGO should be nominated onto the ICs, and NGO or any association committed to the cause of the women, or a person familiar with the issues related to sexual harassment. And as regard this maltreatment or the discrimination to the definitely owes an apology to the entire women world for the delay in providing them the true sense of safe and secure and full of dignity environment at their workplace. Nevertheless, there are examples that may be referred in order to better sensitize the masses. Manish Murthy, one of the India's best known software executives and a rising star at that time, had to resign from Infosys sometimes in 2002 after he was accused of sexual harassment. And I do not know what happened thereafter, but Infosys at that time had to settle for $3 million outside court in order to settle this case. So what happened thereafter, I am not aware. But there is example of this, that Energy and Resources Institute also, TERI, where the case of sexual harassment was reported in the media. Tarun Tejpal, another example, Tahalka.com. Even there are matters from judiciary also, where judges have faced allegations attracting stigma on their personal profile in the society. Maybe ultimately what happened to the case ultimately at the end, but when they were facing all the charges, they got a stigma attached to it. Now, your suggestion for job security, at least for 6 months, though it sounds very good, yet the Act does not provide any such relief to the victim. If such a provision can be put in place, there are some of the areas of concern that would need to be addressed. Now, if this provision is kept there as a discretion to the management, it can be misused. Secondly, suppose if a victim is just reaching the age of retirement, say, and there is a provision in the Act that 6 months job security can be given. So there may be some problem in its implementation. There may be a situation where some appointments are given on a term basis. So long the project is running, they will continue, and once the project is complete, they will go. But if the project is just coming to its end, and then the issue of job security comes in, so there can be problem. But overall, I agree to your suggestion that there should be something done in order to provide them a sense of relief. But let's see what happens. That the law at present does not provide any such relief to the women.
Thank you, sir.
We study all these theoretical aspects of sexual harassment, but as a legal practitioner, I find there is a difference. I still feel women are not sometimes comfortable to bring out their issues, and many cases are are not reported in many organizations. So does the ambit of women empowerment and the dignity of women is being molded by the Western culture and by modernization? What do you think about this?
You are touching upon an important problem. As regard the problem is more prevalent in unorganized sector. You know, unorganized sector takes the substantial share of employment in India. At the same time, you know, in our country, you have laborers in abundance and they are available at very low cost. Just there is an issue of unemployment also. This is one of the reasons that women laborers hesitate to report the issue under the fear of losing their job. It is most prevalent there. अब या तो कंप्लेंट कर लो या फिर जॉब कर लो. Both together may not be possible. That is their impression. For this reason, there is a negligible number of complaints filed from such sector. Other reasons for not reporting the harassment are such as absence of any complaint mechanism at the workplace, fear of being defamed. That is the greatest fear, that I'll get defamed. Another fear of being ridiculed and fear of suffering adverse consequences in promotion or career growth. They feel that there is ambiguity about what constitutes sexual harassment. That is important. They are not aware whether this will fall under the category of sexual harassment or not. What are the duties and obligations of an employer? They are not aware because no such workshops or orientation programs are conducted. What are the remedies available to the victim? And what is the procedure for filing a complaint? Most important. And subsequent investigation. Suppose they know that complaint can be filed with the IC or this, what would be the procedure thereafter? They are not aware. So women sometimes lack confidence because as complainant, she has to discharge the initial burden of proof. Because they are not aware. But they know that once we reach the IC, then first of all, we have to prove our case. So these are the reasons that sometimes women are not comfortable at bringing their issues to the IC. Nevertheless, this deficiency can be addressed through greater awareness, greater sensitization, and greater enforcement. These are the three key areas. And one thing more, you know, that an external IC member has also helped in an unbiased investigation. He or she is expected that with her or his presence in the IC, at least some transparency will be there and a sense of confidence will be inculcated in the mind of the victim that yes, one outsider is also there. So all these reasons and all these are the remedies.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I would just like to ask one last thing, that that in this modern technology, the metropolitan cities are making websites like everywhere. Noida and Ghaziabad, cities like Noida and Ghaziabad have their websites. So for online complaints and for lodging complaints and addressing them and then following it. But how do you think that? Can you please discuss the penal, all the penal provisions in the act against the women who have been harassed?
Okay. You have advanced a highly progressive thought. There are two components here in your question, what I could gather. One is the police complaint and other is IC or LC complaint. Now the police complaint, you all are aware, section 154 of CRPC is there. and it provides precisely if there are cognizable contents in a complaint, it has to be registered by the concerned police station. There is no choice left with them. What happens practically, that is different issue. There is a facility available for filing online complaints also. Regarding IC, that pertaining to police station complaints, you can file online also. But regarding IC and LC complaints, it is true that some of the cities have taken up such initiatives, like you have said. However, there is already another system in place. The aggrieved women can file their complaints online via official website of National Commission for Women. One more. Ministry of Women and Child Development has also started its online portal to report complaints of alleged sexual harassment at workplace. It has linked this online portal to all central and state ministries for speedy disposal of complaints. As you are aware, this portal is given a very interesting name because this portal is in fact called as Sexual Harassment Electronic Box. So, and as partial acronym has been given to this, now they call Sexual Harassment Electronics means SHE box. So this is SHE box. It provides single window access to every female worker to register complaint. It offers the facility of making online complaints to all women employees in the country, covering all government and private sector. So it is across the board. So those what I mean to say that if you have already filed a IC complaint, so there is no restriction. You can file another complaint here on the same issue. So they are also declared eligible to file complaint here. So a complaint can be registered by accessing the online portal. And once, and it is very easy, simply type SHE box there in the Google, and it will take you to the link. So the complaint can be registered there. It will be sent directly to the concerned IC or LC. Suppose that the area pertains to Kerala, so it will go to Kerala, Trivandrum, wherever it belongs to. So, and the beautiful one, that is the Women and Child Development Ministry, and the complainant herself, they all, both can monitor the progress of their complaint and the status of inquiry conducted. So this is very important. Or it is also important to note the highlights of this SHE box. The assurance of protecting the dignity and safety of women. That principle is followed here. Speedier response, of course. The option of interaction with the ministry with an assurance of time-bound responses, the timelines are there. So, ability of women working in government as well as private sector, I have already said. This is also one of the important features. And last, eligibility of those who have already filed IC or ALC complaint, they can also again file. I do support your views that all district officers should take initiative to put in place an online registration of complaint system that should be linked to all the employers, public or private, within their domain or jurisdiction, who are registered. Yes, they can seek help in this regard, because the employers, these private sector employers or the private or public sector employees, everybody is getting himself registered under various labor authorities, so it is not very difficult. So this will also address another important area of concern. You have touched upon this thing, but I am this reminds me, and still there are some of the states and union territories left to notify district officers. Because Section 5 of the Act requires that there will be a district officer at each district, and the district officer will then designate the nodal officers in each tehsil, block, taluka in the rural areas, and the ward in the municipal areas. And this nodal officer is an important officer person who will receive the complaints and give it to the local committees. Now, the consequence of not appointing the district officer is that if you have not appointed district officer so far, or notified the district officer, then what will happen? The nodal officer will not be nominated. And what will the consequence? Then the LC will also not be constituted. So who will represent this unorganized sector then? And there is another area that under the Act, annual report needs to be submitted by each internal committee to the district officer. Now, say for example, X district, and they have not identified so far notified the district officer. Where will they send their report to? If they send it to the district magistrate without taking care that whether district officer is appointed there or not, unnecessarily there is a publication of various facts pertaining to the IC cases you have handled. It is going to the public domain. The press people, the magistrate, and suppose he grabs a copy of that, and tomorrow it is in the newspaper. So confidentiality is breached. So this is also very important that all district should now district officers all should be in place so that the district officer can monitor also not only the annual report but the cases also within the district. So keeping all this in view, your suggestion contains requisite merit. So I do support your idea.
Yes, sir. Very well said.
Today we discussed from the point of view of advocates, especially officers of court, right? So this book has a lot more for legal professionals, students, as well as working women. I'm sure they need to read this book to understand the law. So, but last lines I want to know from you, what do you think about gender equality and women empowerment? And how do you analyze women through your book and as an author?
Okay. It is not a something that I enjoy a prerogative to think about gender equality. It is not my prerogative, rather it is my duty. And it is by thinking about gender equality, I am not making an obligation upon any women. In fact, I am obliging myself. You know, if we are not able to provide safe working environment to the women, what will ultimately happen? Suppose I have mentioned, if you scan through various sexual harassment cases, you will come to know Air India case, Infosys case, Tehelka.com case, judiciary case, this case, that case. You are never aware as to who is the victim or who is the respondent. I have just referred you, one case was that pertains to here Pithoragarh itself. So that case was referred that went up to the level of Supreme Court, and finally Supreme Court granted the requisite justice. So we are not aware of that particular respondent or the victim, but definitely we are aware of the institution. So the one important thing is that if sexual harassment takes place in some organization, the first stigma goes to the organization itself, not to the women. But definitely, women is the first victim, and perhaps practically going to be the last. But my overall picture, the company or the department or the organization, they suffer equally, rather more adversely in their reputation. So first is that gender equality is a must from all angles, from national, from organizational, from society, from till family. And as regard women, anything, if you have some resource, unless you empower that resource, you cannot take advantage or you cannot harness the talent for the advancement of the country. So this is also need of the hour. We are not going to oblige a woman that we are empowering you. So please feel happy. Why should she feel happy about it or not feel happy about it? We need it. The talent, there is no dearth of talent in the women category or the men category. But up to this stage, due to our prejudices or the patriarchal mindset, we have been keeping them deprived from such a concession, such participation. So we failed, in fact, our this duty, and now the awareness is being generated. We are coming forward, and they are also proving themselves. And this is one part that they are also now there, women, to get their due. It is not that they are waiting for us, our mercy or discretion. They are also there, and that is the good part of it.
Thank you so much, sir, for this authentic information that you've given through your book. So, just let our viewers know where the book can be available, where they can buy.
This is available on Amazon also, and I know the all leading publishers they have on their stalls, but it was released in January, and February, I can say, it has come onto the stalls. And March, the unfortunate thing happened, that lockdown.
Yes.
So now I understand that Amazon is going to restart this because they withdrew it from circulation for the time being. All books were withdrawn, including this.
Perfect. Once it's come back to the Amazon, it'll be
Yeah.
perfect. So,
Sorry,
thank you so much,
I
everyone.
couldn't. Okay.
Oh, this was just a thanking note for you that if it regenerates in Amazon, then our viewers can buy at this time of lockdown. I don't know. We all don't know how much it would extend, but for sure, your book should reach to every viewers. And so, I just would like to conclude by saying that after listening to everything, that keeping sexual abuse, keeping sexual harassment, anything such, a secret won't make it stop. Sweeping under the rug won't make us safe. It's just that we need to talk about it, speak
Yeah.
about it, and fight about it, right?
You have to
Job,
speak.
no job, it's very it's not that important, but our self-respect is. If something
Yes.
bad is happening to us, we need to report, we need to reach out to the higher authorities and get ourselves justified. This is what we would be teaching our generation in future, right?
Law helps those who they help themselves,
Oh,
ultimately.
yes. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much, sir, for joining with us. Thank you so much, Trishla and Amol, for supporting such a beautiful conversation and carried it forward. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Pleasure is mine. Pleasure is
Thank
mine.
you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
sir.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay.